What's up YouTube? For this video, I want to do a quick tutorial on how I plan on altering these joggers. Basically, what I plan on doing is removing these elastic cuffs from these jogger pants. These are a pair of scrub pants from Figs with the jogger bottoms. And with these elastic cuffs, it just looks a little funny on me. It has like a parachute look to it, which I don't like. So I'm basically going to remove these elastic cuffs right here and turn these into more regular pants. So here are the materials that I'll be using. Of course, I have the sewing machine. This sewing machine is by Brother, and it's a great beginner sewing machine. I've done a lot of basic alterations, and this sewing machine is affordable and does the job. You'll also need this seam ripper. This sewing machine actually comes with a whole bunch of tools and appliances, so this seam ripper did come with the sewing machine. I think most sewing machines comes with its own kit, but correct me if I'm not mistaken. Otherwise, you should be able to find these separately as well. Of course, you'll also need a pair of scissors to clean up the seams. And then obviously using a sewing machine, you will need some thread. Just make sure you pick a colored thread that matches the pants that you're gonna alter. All right, step one is you're gonna wanna take these pants and turn them inside out. Step two, now that you have these pants inside out, identify the seam that attaches the pants to the elastic cuff. For these pants right here, if you flip them inside out like this, you'll see the seam right there that attaches the two. You're gonna use your seam ripper and then you're just gonna detach it. This part might be tedious and it might take a little work depending on the pair of pants you're using. In terms of these pants, they actually did it fairly well, so this might take a while. As you're doing this part, it is gonna get pretty messy and it is gonna look like you're destroying your pants. Don't worry about that. That pretty much is part of the process. You pretty much are taking these apart, so don't expect a clean finish or anything like that, at least for this step. Later on in the video, you'll have the opportunity to clean up all these edges and make it look nice again, so don't worry about how it looks yet. As you loosen up this seam, you can start kind of tugging the two pieces apart, tugging the elastic from the pants apart just to further break it up. Again, it's not going to be a pretty project, but don't worry. I don't know if you can see it, but there's actually two seams that attach the cuff to the pant. I just took out the first layer right there, but you will also have to do the second stitch or the second seam right there as well. It really fascinates me whoever invented this sewing machine. Whoever invented a machine that was able to make all of this or do all of this in just a matter of like a few minutes. It's just crazy, very efficient. But the reversal process is super tedious. I'm not sure you can pick this up, but at least with the stitch design that they used on this too, if you use your seam ripper right here and hook it underneath these guys, you can just strip that right up the line. And boom. So this is what you're aiming for, slowly detaching the elastic band from the pants. Again, right there, you got that zigzag stitching. Just slide the seam ripper inside that tunnel. Boom. And just slowly pull it apart, just like that. Alright, so here's what it should look like at this point. As I mentioned, it is going to be a bit of a messy project. A lot of loose seams hanging around here. But here is the detached cuff. And you can see that on these jogger pants so far, you have these loose seams. And it's folded or creased a little bit right there. At this point, it'd be good if you can just go ahead and pull out all these loose seams and just clean up this edge. You can pull it out or tweeze it out. Do what you can to get this nice and cleaned up here. So at this point, as you're cleaning up these loose seams here, you will notice that you might have done some inevitable damage on the raw edge here. Again, don't worry about that part because you're going to cover that up later anyways. Just be careful not to pull or tug on these to further damage the edge there. Instead, with these seams, just use some scissors and snip it off like that. Alright, after you cleaned up the edge, you should have something like this. Little raw edge exposed, but otherwise all the loose seams have been cleaned up and removed. Of course, if you haven't yet, you have to do that on both sides. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this side real quick. Alright, so this is where I'm at. I have removed both elastic cuffs from the pants, and I have pretty much cleaned up all the loose seams. So now I have something that looks like this. So we're almost done here. Basically the last step is to close this off. But before we do that, the next step is you'll want to iron these creases out if your pants are wrinkly. For me, these are wrinkle resistant pants, so I don't really have an issue with the wrinkleness. But if you're doing some pants that have a lot of wrinkles or is not quite straight, you'll want to iron and flatten this all out so that you have a nice flat surface to sew and work with. Actually, before you even iron this out, this is the time to predetermine how short you want your pant length to be. For me, I'm content with it being right here, but if you do want your pant length to be shorter, this is the time to do that. So predetermine how short you want your pant length to be, and you're gonna want to fold it up a little more to the desired length so that you have something like that. You'll probably want to use a ruler or something to measure out and be precise with your measurements here. But again, you determine how short you want your pant length to be. You fold it up a little higher. Keep in mind that these pants are still inside out. And then at this point, you'll want to use some sewing pins to just lock this in place. And then you'll have something like that. So again, since these pants are already at my desired length, and I'm pretty much just gonna do the stitching right here, I'm gonna use these sewing pins to put everything in place. Quick little tip I want to mention during this particular step is when you use these pins and pin your cloth right here, make sure the ball part is facing you so that when you're ready to sew this together, you're gonna have this ball facing you so that you pull the pin out as you sew the cloth through the machine. You'll find out soon that if you actually had the pins the other way by accident, it'll just make it a little more inconvenient to navigate the pin through the sewing machine. Alright, now we're gonna sew this and finish this up. Quick disclaimer, this is unfortunately not a sewing machine tutorial, so if you want to learn how to use a sewing machine, I advise you look elsewhere first before you go back to this video, but here we go. So this is what the final stitching looks like. Just a little note from my particular technique is, again, I left these edges raw, which I'm totally okay with because this will be worn inside out anyways, so this part won't be exposed. If you're a little more particular about hiding this edge, then you would have skipped to the previous step and do a double fold. You would have had to fold it like twice, like that, and that would have hidden the raw edge inside. But from an aesthetic standpoint, wearing these from the outside, you won't be able to see this raw edge anyways. Another thing to note is with these pair of pants, you'll see that this stitch is maybe 2 inches from the bottom right here, as opposed to this stitch is pretty much at the edge without that little cuff. If you want this particular appearance, you would have also had to do the double fold like I mentioned a couple steps ago. But again, with these pants in particular, I didn't care for that, so I did that just a little differently with these. So now that that's all done, here is the before and the after. I just want to make a couple more comments. First of all, I am by no means a professional at alterations, so if you're watching this and you have any feedback on how I could have done things more efficiently, please let me know in the comments below. Second of all, this particular tutorial only works for certain types of pants and certain materials. Certain fabrics that are more firm, like khakis and these scrub pants that have a little more structure, I feel like it works for those particular fabrics. But I'm not exactly sure if this technique will work good on like sweatpants and sweat joggers. Those materials tend to be a little thicker and softer, like more cottony. So I don't know if you can particularly apply these skills to those types of fabrics. But other than that, I am self-taught at this alterations thing, so this is the way that I've learned how to do it for myself, and it works out for me, so hopefully it works out for you too. I'll leave all the materials that I use in the description box below, but otherwise, if you have any other questions, please let me know, and I'll help you out the best I can. If you made it this far into the video, please do me a huge favor, hit that like button, it'll help me out a lot, and consider subscribing for more content on style, sneakers, and science. While you're at it, check out my other videos here or here. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace.